Welcome to Locals Only Cantina.
Mixing it up with
Brandon
and Cherie. Okay, hey guys, how's it going? We are back again for another fun week, and we have a fun topic that we want to talk about today. And not only is it a fun topic, but it's probably my most favorite topic because I think without this, I know without this, relationships will not work the right way. So
what's our little show called again?
Which show? This one?
This one. This specific one right here.
You know what? I guess we never talked about that and why we chose the name that we chose. So let's go over that. That's kind of fun, right? So, for those of you who are just on the podcast, or even those who are on YouTube watching, we actually chose the name Locals Only Cantina for a very specific reason.
Because we like to drink.
We might have a little bit of fun drinking together.
Yeah, no, because cantinas are like the bars typically where, not typically, right? But stereotypically, the bartender is like, the local guy is like, it's like collegeist, right? You go and you have some drinks and you bullshit and you solve all the world's problems in the bar, right?
Hell yeah, we do.
Cantina. But Locals Only bars sounded weird, right? So Cantina is what we came up with.
Well, too, I think down the road, Brandon's gonna cook some stuff up, and I might spy on him and share that with you guys.
Yeah.
And I am one that I like to make different types of drinks, and so we're gonna kind of share what we're gonna do down that route at a later time. But we're kind of just getting started. But
so welcome to the Cantina, yeah.
Yeah, Locals Only.
Cheers. We're gonna start with a drink.
To you guys, I if you guys are as old as me and Brandon and I,
I'm not older. You old?
Well, you're way older than me. You're past your 40s, and I'm not quite there yet. So, anyway.
Yeah, well, whatever.
But where I was going with that is, I loved Cheers growing up. Actually, growing up, that was something that I watched as a younger kid, and I thought it was so cool that all these people had this place that they could go to, and
everybody knew their name.
Yeah, everybody knew their name, and
if you know that reference, you're at least as old as us,
right?
So, yeah. our kids won't know.
I haven't watched it in years, but it's actually one of my favorite shows.
Cheers was dope. Yeah,
and
awesome.
I love that they could go to a place and people just knew their name, and they had
they
a good
all
time.
were probably raging alcoholics, and probably the part of the story you don't get is their spouses that were at home and their husband or wife is constantly at the bar, and
that's
probably not as good, but
we're doing it a little differently.
We're just ignoring the the real life part of what that might have been.
At our cantina, we want you to come as couples. We want you to enrich your couple, your life together.
Which is what we're gonna talk about, right?
Yeah. So what we decided to talk about today and we'll talk about this many times, I believe, throughout our podcast, because this is a very important thing.
Probably you guys will be like, yeah, they have 87 episodes and they all say the same damn thing, right? Because this is super huge, important, right?
Very important.
I don't think you can get past this if you want to live a truly epic life.
Yeah.
I don't think you
can. As a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So what we're talking about today is...
sex.
Actually, I was just going to say that was going to be
Is that a part of it at least?
That will be a part of it for sure. How is it not going to be a part of it? But...
sex toys? No? No.
I think once a month we're going to have a talk about sex for sure. I'm thinking about this. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think we need to dedicate once a month to be about sex, because sex is very important.
What you're saying is this show is actually about the foreplay.
Maybe just a little bit.
So what we're going to talk about is the subject that we sort of talked about today is are you what was it? Roommates or lovers?
Yeah, so...
Or are you married or lovers?
Are you...
You can say that 1,000 ways.
Yeah, are you actually married and you love to be with the person you're with?
Sorry, I fizzed it all up in my drink.
Yeah, so are you roommates or are you actually married? Are you lovers? What type of life are you living in your home? Because where you set your relationship in your home before anything else and what you do in your relationship to create a better home for yourself, that matters hugely on the type of relationship you have.
Yeah, one of my mentors that I follow, he's somewhat newly married again, right? Been in relationships before, he and his wife both. But I saw something on social that he posted about them like being in their honeymoon phase and how they want that to never end. And I'm like, bro, I'm like damn near 19 years in and I'm still in it, right? So, but actually the secret to that is you, and we have, like, you kind of find yourself out of it, but you can negotiate your way back into it too, right? And so what we're going to talk about is how to do that and stay lovers instead of just married people
that are roommates.
Do you want to be like boring married people like your mom and dad were? I don't.
No.
I love my mom and dad to death, but let's be real. As far as I know, they had sex 4 times. And as long as the reason I know that,
that's all you want to know.
Well, you guys know why I know that. But no, like, it just wasn't something I saw. There were aspects of their relationship that I did look up to, and I still do admire and try to, like, include. My dad loved my mom to death, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter how mad she might have been, he thought she was the cutest little thing on the fucking earth, right?
Yeah.
One thing they did good was they got into ballroom dancing, and there was a time in my childhood where every Friday night they left me at home by myself. Poor little guy. No, but they left me at home by myself, and I would have friends over, and we'd rent movies, and back when you had to rent them, like, you had to go down to Blockbuster.
We're old.
That was actually fun, right? That was dope, actually.
I love Blockbusters and Hollywood
the best part of my whole week. My mom and dad are going dancing. I get to go down and rent movies. And I knew that if I went with my dad, I could get rated R ones.
What?
And if I went with my mom, then I would have to, like, be maxed out at, like, PG-13.
I barely could watch PG-13, so that's...
What I'm saying, though, is as much as, like, there's some things about their relationship, and my mom's going to watch this or listen, and I would be very blunt with her and say the same thing, because we've had these discussions before, so I'm not trying to, like, be mean or anything. But I am saying this, like, you look at your examples in life, you take the good, you leave the bad. And the good that I found from theirs was that every Friday night for a long time, they would go dancing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Even if it meant they had to leave their baby boy at home. I was like 10, not baby, but I for sure could take care of myself. And then, like, there's a whole another discussion for that for another day, that it helped me learn to be independent and all that stuff. So it was actually good, right? Still. So, no, but that was rad. And that was one thing that I've, like, held on to, is, like, continue to date, continue to, like, play, continue to have fun.
And you know what? That's actually weirdly, like, when Brandon and I were dating, that was something I admired about Brandon and his parents, because I never ever wanted my marriage to be boring, because I saw my grandparents as they got old. When my grandparents...
Their recliners were bitches.
They were.
They could watch the shit out of some TV.
Yeah, but I would go to visit my grandparents.
I never owned a recliner, but by the way.
No?
My entire life. My house when I was a kid, we never had one. I still don't have one.
Yeah, and I will never buy
Your mom and dad have 3 of them.
Yeah, it's okay, Mom and Daddy.
Anyway, I want a recliner.
Recliners are actually pretty cool, but because of the fact of, like, watching my grandparents grow old in their recliners, I never want to own one. I actually never ever want to own one ever.
Do you want your life goal to be have the bitch in a recliner with the remote control that, like, lifts it up and down, or do you want to be that age and still out, like, getting it on, right? I'm not saying that just because you have a recliner, you can't also do that thing, right?
Yeah, my parents are very active, and they still go on lots of very
we're being very stereotypical right now.
But here's the thing. This still happens. I still have friends. I still have family members that tell me, I'm like, what are you guys doing for the weekend? And they're
young friends.
Yeah, they're like our age, and they're like, we're gonna...
I just totally burped in the mic. Sorry, guys.
Brandon,
That's what you get when you're in the cantina, man. That's how it goes.
No, but even those who are our age or even a little bit older, or even younger, like you get into this mode of contentment. I know we've talked about that before, but when you're content and you're just ready to like curl, like there's a difference between curling up together and snuggling and watching a movie together, and every night is we sit and watch TV and we drown out the noise of our relationship, of our family by watching TV. Those are two very big differences.
That we don't do is we don't go to bed at different times. Hardly ever.
Oh, that's huge, Brandon. I'm so glad you brought that up.
I know lots of people that are like, oh, like I'll texting my friend or calling, oh yeah, my wife's in bed. Why the fuck aren't you in bed with your wife, right? Like that's something that we have eventually also as we pick up listeners. I'm gonna have to stop swearing so much. But right now, because we're new and nobody listens anyways, YouTubes don't care. So, but no, for real though, like that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
I have known so many people that the wife goes to bed at like 6 a.m. and 6 a.m. That's way too early for bed. 6 p.m.
Maybe she's living the life if she goes to bed at 6 a.m. And
like,
if she's going to bed at 6 a.m. and her husband's not, then that's a whole different issue.
What I mean. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. No, that's just not something we've ever done. Like, if I've had a rough day and I need to get in bed, say I had to get in bed at 8 o'clock, which we almost never do. But Sheree would go to bed with me for the most part.
Yeah.
There have been very, 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 very few exceptions with that. And me too as well.
Usually the only time that doesn't happen is if you or I are out and maybe one of us is like, okay, I'm super excited
or not
exhausted.
Feeling good, like I'm sick, I just need to hit the sack, right?
But
you stay up with the kids and have some fun. I gotta crash though. I gotta check out.
That is a huge thing for us because we've seen how it can be so hard for relationships through other people, and that's a big deal, you guys. Like if you're staying up doing something else while your partner's doing something else and then you go to bed at different times, like how do you have that time to become lovers instead of just roommates?
Call on me.
Yeah, you.
I got a little nugget of wisdom I'm gonna spit. It is virtually impossible to have sex with your spouse if you're in the bedroom and she is in the family room.
Or she's in the bedroom.
Or in the kitchen or wherever, right? If you go to bed before them and you fall asleep, it is virtually impossible to have sex that night, right?
Yeah.
So.
And that's part of what we're going to talk about today, too. So
we're like 12 minutes and I feel like we're still in our intro. So let's get into the actual, like the meat of this thing here.
So really what we wanted to talk about with this whole thing is a lot of relationships as you go along in your life together. You know, there's ways of growing together and there's ways of growing apart. And this is a huge deal when it comes to being able to grow together as a couple. And a lot of couples, when and this is the funny thing, it can happen at many different stages of your marriage. It can happen 2 years in on your marriage. It can happen 10 years in your marriage. It can be at 15 years. I've seen like our friends go through this at different stages of their marriage.
It happened multiple times too.
Yeah, multiple times. And I think like if you're listening to this and you're realizing, okay, hey, we're married, we're living in the same house, but I don't even know if she likes me anymore. Or I don't even know if he likes me anymore. I don't even know if he wants to touch me anymore or give me love at the end of the day or even at the first of the day, you know, like, I mean, if you're questioning any of those things, then this is something that you need to change right now, right here. Like, it needs to be different.
But what people want to do by default most of the time is like, yeah, well, it's her fault.
Yeah.
Right?
She wants to do this before she goes to bed, so I'm going to do my own thing also, and it's her fault that this is happening.
Yeah, or it's his fault, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to point fingers, right? But here's the thing. The only person that you can genuinely, like, affect is yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I actually was on, there's another guy that I do some podcasts with here and there. We talked about kind of this type of thing here, right? And I'm like, listen, dude, I said, I am genuinely uninterested in telling women how to be. I just am. Because
Yeah.
why? Because I'm not them. The only thing is I am me, right? And there's things that I can do. There's ways that I intentionally live my life. There's things that I intentionally do every day that create reactions, create like that she responds to, maybe even subconsciously. And then there's things that she does the same thing too, right? But I can only change her. If I could yell at her all day long.
You can only change me?
No, I could only change me, I meant to say. But I could yell at her all day long. You need to be like this. You need to be like this. You need to want to touch me. You want to... Is screaming at somebody that you need to want to touch me going to make them want to touch you? Probably not, right? However, going to the gym, getting in shape, doing the things like being about your purpose, seeking your best self, like those things will naturally inspire like admiration and attraction, right? So there's things that you can do for yourself that will be trigger points in the other person. And I know trigger is a word like everybody like you uses that bad nowadays. But trigger meaning like trigger admiration,
Trigger the
trigger
response that you
attraction,
want. Yeah.
trigger all those things, right? Respect, all those things.
And that works on both sides, you guys.
Totally.
Yeah, so...
But I can't do that for you. I can only do what I can do for me, and then you respond to that.
Yeah.
And you do the same, right?
Huge, yeah. And this is what we talk about, like, never lose that honeymoon phase in your relationship. Like, it is so easy to become content in your relationship and just do what your parents did or do what is comfortable at the moment. Because you know what? Like, most of the time you get home from work, like, Brandon and I both work full-time jobs, right? So we both get home at the end of the night and we're tired.
Her commute is 13, not even 13. It's like 7 steps from the bedroom to the office.
Don't be jealous.
Well, you're saying get home from work. Let's be real, right?
But you know what? Hey, I like my commute. Is
I know.
that okay?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Don't be jealous.
Well, it's because I got to get in the car and actually go somewhere.
No, but here's the thing. There's things that we both do on the daily for each other to be able to have those moments when we come together, to be good moments to come together. And it's not always easy. I mean, it's exhausting to work full-time jobs, and we both have different types of jobs that we work. But when you know and you put into your schedule, because if you're a schedule type person, I'm one that I'm like, I gotta have routine. Like, I want to this like once a week or once a day, like I'm doing this, right? So for me, I had to actually be like, okay, I'm setting this time aside because this is what I want out of my life. There is so much more fun at the end of the day when I'm planning that we get to have our alone time. And that's a huge thing that we do. We say, okay, we're going to hang out with our kids. We have 3 kids. We have 2 teenagers. We have an elementary school kid. And that can get in the way of things. But at like 9:30, we say, it's mom and dad time. See ya.
Peace
you guys
out,
have a
suckers.
good night. Like,
go to bed, nerds.
that may sound mean, but you know what?
No, it's not mean.
Well, so here's what our oldest said the other day, which is kind of funny. He's all, you guys are just gonna go to bed, but you're actually gonna like not actually go to bed in your room. And I'm like, yeah.
True.
So go to bed.
True story. That's why it's better for you to go to your room.
Yeah.
And for us to go to our room, right?
But it's okay to set that standard in your home. And I think a lot of parents especially, they're like, okay, I've got to be this good parent. My kids can never know that we need alone time, right? Bull crap. Like, they need to know that alone time is important to you guys.
And that's what I was saying. Like, with my parents were dancing. My parents did lots of things wrong that I don't ever want to do too. But that was something that I picked up on when I was young. That was like a good thing,
Yeah. And I think it's okay for you. It is very okay, and you should definitely set that standard for your kids, because you know what? Like, the one thing that I've learned in life is you can throw stuff at people as many times as you want, but until it's an example that they can catch, it's not gonna actually
What about,
stick.
so Yeah, so let's move on just a little bit because there's probably lots of things we can talk about within this, okay? So go to bed around the same time, at the same time. That's one. What about date night?
Yeah, that's really what we wanted to talk about.
Okay. Date night's
He's
huge.
getting me onto the real point of this whole conversation.
Move on. Land your plane. Come on, let's go.
So this is something that's very big in our relationship, and that was something that we never wanted to give up. And I think a lot of couples,
we haven't done it all the time.
No, like we actually
find it again, and then we forget, and then we find it again. Yeah.
And so you just have to have that in mind as you're growing as a couple, how important that is in your life. And there is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. You don't want to...
Let's start with the wrong way.
Okay, so this is the very
interested.
wrong way, and we've done this, so don't think that we're above this, because this has happened many times. But we'll be angry at each other or bugged at each other.
Get your ass in the car. It's date night. Like that?
Yeah. So he's like, we got to do this. And I'm like, grr, I hate you. I don't want to.
But still, that's better than not, though, I think.
Yeah.
It's like the gym. Like a shitty workout is better than no workout at all.
Yeah.
I kind of see it like that, though.
Yeah. But we have this show that we like to watch together. It's called How I Met Your Mother. A little bit older show, not too old. But one of the things they do in that is they say, like, the couple and Marshall and Lily, they get in fights and they are like, okay, pause. They pause from their fights and then they're like,
then they have sex.
Yeah, like they come together.
It's not that kind of show. They don't show anything. They just imply it.
But they come together and they're like, okay, we still love each other even though I really hate you right now, right?
Yeah.
Like there's moments in their relationship where they know that they're super angry at each other for certain things, and they have very good points and very good reasons to be angry at each other. And you're gonna have those moments. You're gonna have those points where you're just angry, right? But if you can take a moment and say, hey, pause. We need to, like, regather our love, regather our relationship, and come to a point together and go on a date together, then that's the key part of being able to have that date night, even when you're, like, angry at each other.
Okay, so that's the wrong way. What's the right way to do it?
Well, I want to go a step further in that for just a second.
All right, okay.
So
Go
the
on.
other thing, because this has happened many times, especially with me, because I am one that Brandon is very much someone that he is, and this has actually been a good thing for me, but Brandon is very much, okay, if we have an issue, we deal with it right now. We get it over with, because otherwise both Brandon and I are going to be wallowing about it through our work day, through our night, and then we're going to be bugged at each other at night. And then if date night happens to be that night, we go to date night and I'm like still got it on my mind that I'm angry at him, and then I like kind of blow up in it.
We should just go to the kickboxing gym instead. Put on the
We
gloves
should.
and like work it out like that.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
But like I've been in those moments where we go on a date night and I'm like, well, I'm still pissed off at you. So guess what? I'm going to bring up these issues that we need to talk about. Like, this is our alone time and we're talking, right?
It fucking happens.
It does.
Yeah.
Because I'm one that I kind of hold on to stuff because I feel like I want to think about it and I want to like have my own moment in it. But here's the thing, like when you have these date nights, because guess what? These arguments, these fights that you have, when you have the understanding that that's what it is and it's for you to move forward and get through that, and then all of a sudden you go back to having this amazing relationship, when you know that that's the goal for both of you, it changes your whole world, you guys. It changes your whole world, because how easy it is for us, like as a couple, to be so angry at each other for different reasons, and sometimes the other person doesn't even know why you're angry at them, right? But you hold on to that. But if you always have in the back of your mind that, okay, this is just something we're going through and we need to get past it to be badasses again, then that changes the whole way you look at your fights and you look at your relationships.
The same mentor that I was just talking about just a bit ago, he gave we did this weekly call type thing, and one day, like, the topic was actually this, right? Like, resolve all your issues before you leave the house, right? Because if you want to be productive in your daytime, and he kind of like made an example, like a fucking like pie chart, right? Say your anger, your little fight that you just had with your spouse takes up like 20% of that pie chart. That's your brain capacity for the day. if you want to leave and be productive to the max, well, you're only working on 80% capacity because 20% is all mixed up. The way I actually work, it's really hard actually, because if I have an issue, it's like more like 90% freaking brain capacity taken up. I have a really hard time focusing on other shit when shit's not good with us.
Yeah, we both we both have to be self-motivated for both of our jobs. Yeah. And when you don't have that self-motivation,
it's like damn near impossible for me. So it's like, that's why Sheree said I want to work it out right now, because I still have to like provide for us too. I mean, she works hard, like we provide for each other, but I still have to go out and do what I have to do. And if shit's not good at home, Jesus Christ, I might as well just fucking leave here and go and like hang out at Starbucks all day, because I'm my head's just not there, you know.
How many times does that happen for couples where honestly, like, one of the hardest things for me to understand with other couples over the years has been, Brandon used to be a firefighter, and he used to go to the station, and he'd be gone for, what was it, 48 hours? Mm-hmm. 48 hours.
Home
he'd
for
be
96.
gone.
2 days on, 4 days off.
And all of his buddies at work would rather be at work than be home with their wives and kids. And that was just something that I didn't like really fully understand. But it's kind of like what you're talking about, wanting.
I understand it because I was there with them, and I heard all their stories and everything like that. Right?
I had these guys. You want to live that life.
You do not want. Well, I'm not saying you don't want to live the fire life.
Yeah.
It was actually a cool job until it stopped being fun for me. But I would have these. Now, we also live in a very religious state, which has, like, weird, like, sexual ideas and stuff. Yeah. But I remember being in the station, and, like, one dude would, like, walk in all, like, smiley, and they're like, "Oh, you got to have sex this week. I could tell," right? And he's like, "Oh, I did. I had sex Wednesday night," right? And it was like a little good boy, little doggy with a fucking toy and a treat, right? Like, he finally got his, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, I had sex like 7 times in the last 4 days. Like, what the fuck are you guys? But I never said that, right? But it was so sad to me. There was one dude, absolutely could not, in a million years, he tried all sorts of things. His wife, it was sinful to do certain things. So as much as he wanted these certain things, she wouldn't do it, right? And so he would come in with a new, like, razor that he bought so he could, like, manscape shit up and make it, like, seem more acceptable and stuff.
That's not bad. That's
no, but it never worked was the thing, though. It never worked, right? Because
maybe you should have done that in the beginning. I don't know.
Well, it never worked because that was a sin. And he's like, I gotta, like, make it look good, so she wants to do things with that thing, right? You know, and it was really sad, But here we were in this situation where I'm just sitting there, and most of the time I would just sit there and smile and keep my mouth shut, because these guys were legit little, like I just saw them as little, like little dogs, right? And they got their little treat for the week, right? And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that sounds like the most miserable lifestyle to live.
Yeah. I
know for the most part, like, unless, like, the day's gone weird, we're super exhausted. There are nights where we're just, like, fucking out of it, right? Like, passed out. I got home last night. Sheree was really sore. I gave her a muscle relaxer so she could get to bed. Next thing I know, I'm like poking her, like, "Are you alive still?" Or like, we hanging out. She passed out in like 3.5 seconds. That's fine, right?
I may have felt really good.
But for the most part, there's not many nights that go by without us being, like, physical still after 18 years and several months, right? Almost 19 months.
Yeah, but I think
19 years.
When you go into every day of your relationship, you guys, like, I know this is something huge for me in my life, but we've had so many times in our lives where we've had to start things over. Like, we've had things that have screwed up our life, and we have to restart life, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of taught us, especially going to Hawaii and moving back, that every day is a gift.
Totally.
And you don't know. Like, I don't know if Brandon's going to come home tomorrow after working all day. He doesn't know if I'm going to be here, like, meaning that something might happen to us. Something. Well, I mean, really
she would have had to, like, change out of her PJs, get in the car, go somewhere.
Let's be jealous.
So we've talked about the bad way. Now let's get on to, like, the good way to date. Because we're still on date night, and we're, like, halfway through this podcast here. We've had 2 sub-subjects that we've addressed so far.
No, I think that's, like, the big one, because we forget what it was like when we first got together,
Yeah.
right? And the things that attracted us to each other. And that's where we tend to mess things up in our relationship, is because we think that we need to mature our relationship and start different portions of our relationship.
Feeling like you need to be mature. I'm going to jump in here for a second, okay? Couple things. One, guys, okay? I can only talk to you because I'm a dude, okay? And your wives are not going to, they're probably not going to say I'm wrong, okay? Here we go. Here's what dudes do. They get into relationships and they fucking give their cool away.
True.
There were things that you did when you were young and you were single that attracted her to you, okay? You might have drove a big truck, you might have had a sports car, maybe you rode motorcycles, maybe you were a dirt bike, you raced motocross, maybe you were a mountain biker. I don't fucking know. All of the above, right? However, because guys want, like, we genuinely want to be a good husband and father, we get into a relationship and the first thing you think is, oh, well, now it's time for me to move past that stuff. I'm going to tell you a secret right now that your wife probably hasn't told you yet. Those were the things that turned her on in the first place, okay? And now your intentions are pure. You want to be a good husband, and so you stop doing all the things, right? This was one of the things that kind of fell by the wayside for me when I first got married.
He's pointing to his guitars.
I thought, yeah, not her. These things right here. I thought that I was spending too much time playing guitar, and so I just kind of stopped, and I kind of blamed it on her, which wasn't exactly fair, right? And then eventually she's like, "Why don't you play anymore?" And I'm like, "Because I don't want to take time away from you guys to play, right?" But all the things, though, I mean, whether it's the truck, whether it's the motorcycle, whether it's stop giving your fucking cool away. Maybe you were in the gym and you were really fit and everything, and you got married and you're like, okay, now I need to be a father, and you fell for this fucking lie that the world likes to tell that, oh, well, chicks are into dad bods anyway, so it's all good. No, your wife still has eyeballs, okay? She can still see and she can still feel things, right? Stay fit, okay? But yeah, that's number one, what guys like do. Their intentions are pure. They want to be like good husbands and dads, but they give away all the things that made them attractive in the first place.
Yeah.
That's a thing, okay? Now, number two, when you go out on dates, what's the movie that we always end up accidentally quoting? What do you want to do? Is it Jungle Book? Oh, yeah. Don't start that again, right? Here's the thing, guys. This is something that I didn't really realize for a long time, and I eventually did. When you go out on a date and you say, what do you want to do? And she says, I don't know, what do you want to do? That's a softball pitch for you to just fucking knock that thing out of the park. What she's saying is, take me somewhere. Yeah. Just fucking decide, right?
Be a little spontaneous.
You're the man.
Because you need that spontaneity to excite things a little bit.
Put me in your truck or your sports car or on the back of your bike or whatever you have. Bike meaning motorcycle. I hope you're not taking your wife.
Or if you have a minivan, come on.
I hope you're not. Well, I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? But I hope you're not taking your wife on a date on the back of a bicycle, okay? I'm just saying, that's a softball pitch she's given you to just fucking knock that thing out of the park. Just decide somewhere and go. She doesn't really care. She just wants you to decide.
Yeah, and it's all part of the way that you did things when you were dating, honestly. We had a conversation with somebody after, we had this really cool weekend and we got to meet a lot of people, and a lot of people were asking us about our podcast that we were starting, and one of them was talking to us about this exact same thing. And the question that I had asked him, I was like, you know what? Like he was saying, we kind of have turned into roommates, because that was actually the question I asked him. I was like, do you feel like roommates, or do you feel like you guys are married and that you're lovers? And he's like, roommates. And that happens to so many people. So don't think that you're alone if you're going through this. It happens on a huge scale,
way more normal than it ought to be, and that's what we would like to maybe be a tool to change that.
Yeah, so the one thing that I asked him, being the woman, and I'm like, okay, I know what I want out of the relationship, so I'm telling him, I'm like, or I asked him, I'm like, do you feel like roommates or do you feel like you're married? And he's like, well, honestly, I'm like, how often do you guys have sex? And he's like, I'm like, when was the last time you had sex? Maybe a month or two ago. And I'm like, what? And I think they'd been married for like 5 years at this time.
Kill me now.
And I'm thinking,
I don't even know who this is. I'm like,
you're really roommates. You're not actually lovers. You're not in a marriage. And the thing that is so hard for people to grasp is they want to like feel like they need to mature their relationship and become like a certain level in their relationship. But guess what? Like, to keep things exciting, to keep things like, to keep the other person wanting you and desiring you, you kind of have to do those same things that you did when you were dating. And I know the thing that we think in our lives is we're like, okay, we look at our parents and our grandparents and we're like, okay, well, eventually we get to this time where we can just relax and just do nothing, right?
Bullshit. You don't get to.
Yeah, no, you can't do that because guess what? Do you want to live that life? Do you want to be just sitting in your own chair far away from your partner, not snuggling, not even holding hands and watching TV together?
I tell guys all the time, at least when they're interested enough to ask me, you have to continually game your... I don't know about you guys, but I remember being single and be like, oh man, I can't wait to get married for this game to end, right? But I realized really quick, the game never fucking ends.
It doesn't.
If you want to have results, you have to continue to play the game forever. Like, it is actually useful for married guys who have no intention of going outside their marriage to get online and listen to, like, pickup artist type stuff. Because your wife still wants you to seduce her, just FYI.
Yeah.
Like, if you're sitting around thinking... I've had guys ask me or say things like... Of all the years we've been married, she's only initiated sex like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, well, that's her role. You're the guy. You're supposed to be the aggressor. She wants you to fuck her, dude. She just, like, you just have to, like, be the man, right? Just fucking go for it, right? You know?
Here's the thing. If you're going to bed early and your wife is reading a book while you go to bed early, guess what she's reading?
She's probably reading romance shit, huh?
She's reading
about homeboy with his rippling abs and his fucking pecs and everything.
And it's not it's about how the guy in the story is going to take her and have this moment and this beautiful experience together, right? And I kind of feel like we're bagging on guys just a little bit, so I have to say something for the women just a little bit here.
Okay, but all right. But I think it's fair, though. But okay.
Yeah. So
go on, though.
But here's something that I've heard a lot. And I've been in groups of women where they're like, okay, well, this one girl told me one time, she was like, oh, I should probably shave my legs because they're going to be really long.
Definitely. You should.
Right?
Absolutely.
But she's like... But if I shave my legs, that means I'm going to have sex tonight because that's like the cue for my husband to know that we should have sex. And it's like, wait, I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, you're using hairy legs as an excuse not to have sex with your husband. Like you're finding ways.
Keep him away.
Yeah, you're finding ways to get your husband away from you. And then you're going to go and read a book about how this guy is this amazing guy and he's going to captivate this woman and like they're going to have this amazing, beautiful love scene. Women, girls, like you really, like if you want the guy to be the guy that you want to be and he's stepping up his game, make sure that you're stepping up the game also.
The stepping up his game part is the part.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk to guys specifically about this is like we need to step up our game, right? Like you need to step up your game. You can't sit around and just watch football and drink beer all day and expect her to want to freaking jump your bones at night. It's just not gonna happen. And no matter how many of those stupid articles you see roll across your Facebook feed, girls are not attracted to dad bods. They're just fucking not, right? And if the ones that say they are, well, that's a whole nother set of issues because they're only insecure because they feel safe with you. Maybe somebody had an affair before on them, cheated on them, who knows what. But what I'm talking about is genuine burning desire from your spouse to want to be with you. And to have that, it is not going to be Mr. Dad Bod that sits around working a mediocre job, making mediocre money, drinking beer, watching football. It's just not. And we're all at a certain stage in life. But what I always tell guys, is this: is seek excellence, seek to be the best man that you can be, and then people will naturally respond to you. And that's not just relationships, like your personal relationship with your spouse. That also has to do with your friends and your co-workers and your business partners and stuff like that. If you walk into the room and you just command respect just by your presence, that's a big thing, right? So, like I'm in this mastermind group, and we talk about what we call core 4, right? Core 4 is your passion, your relationships, your fitness, your physical, your production, your business, and your spiritual, right? And to lead a truly epic life, you have to have all 4.
Yeah.
You can make all the money you want, but if you're a big fat miserable bastard, well, that's no fun. That's no good, right? Like, you're gonna have things you like. You can be super duper fit, but like super broke at the same time. That's also no fun either, right? Like, we have to try our best to equalize all 4 of those things, to have that table stand, right? So,
and that's something that you just continually have to work through. Like, Brandon and I don't think that we
it's
have
a lifelong
those all.
thing. No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have all those
we
things.
say this
It's a
because
lifelong
this
thing.
is something that we both work towards in our relationship, and it's key for both of you to want to have these things for each other. And you know what's kind of cool is when you understand that your partner wants those things for your relationship, have these conversations with your partner, because if they know that you're all in on your relationship, then they're gonna, maybe if they're feeling a little like worried about things in your relationship, they're gonna all of a sudden be like, hey, he's all in on my relationship and I want to be all in too. Because here's the thing, even if you're dating or if you're married, sometimes you question whether the other person's all in, because there's certain things that happen in your relationship that kind of make you doubt those things here and there.
Yeah.
But when you know that your partner is all in on your relationship, then all of a sudden, like, those conversations can turn into a whole lot more security in your relationship, because not only does date night mean something different to you, it means like, okay, we want this to be the most epic relationship instead of just being content.
Yeah, I try to live my life like this, and I'm not the one that coined this phrase, but I heard this phrase and I like it a lot. But I like the phrase being blissfully dissatisfied.
Yeah.
You know, you're blissful in the moment, you love where you're at, but you're also dissatisfied. You want some more, right? I try to live my life a little bit like this, where I'm 10% better tomorrow than I am right now, right? 10% is not hard. I mean, if you look at that as far as like fitness goes, just think about food, right? Okay, today I had a cheeseburger and fries. Well, tomorrow I'm gonna have a cheeseburger, but I'm not gonna have the fries, right? Like, that's not that hard, right?
It's not that hard.
No, or it's just, or I went to the gym and I did sets of 10. Well, tomorrow I'm going to do sets of 12 instead, right? I know that's not 10%. I get the math, right? But still, I'm just saying, just be a little bit better tomorrow than you are now. There'll be days where you backslide and everything like that, but let's get back into like the dating part. So we talked about the date night thing, stuff like that. Our date night is Wednesday night. We do that most of the time. Sometimes if we can't, then we'll change the days, but it's just something we do. Why? Because it breaks up the week. We get to leave the kids at home and just freaking bounce for the night. And
if I hear any of you guys say, okay, well, date night's really hard because I have kids. Okay, we have 3 kids, and they haven't already been.
They're a little older though too.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
That's what I was going to talk about. Okay, so there are going to be times in your life, because ours are older and they're a bit more independent, and we have the freedom now, right? And you're going to get to that point eventually. But in the days where they were younger, guess what? Create a date night in your home. Your date night
could be in your bedroom.
Yeah. So
a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Have a little picnic on your bed, and
is better than nothing, right?
Yeah, light some candles in your bedroom after you put your kids to bed. Because guess what? Here's the easy part when they're younger, is they need more sleep for growth, right? Yeah. So you put them to bed at 8, maybe 9, and then don't just go to bed as a couple. Make sure that you create that time for yourself, because you don't have to actually leave your house for a date night. I recommend doing that because guess what? If
we
you
do
can
nowadays.
if you can find a babysitter that you trust, and I know that the world is weird and sometimes you can't trust everybody, but if you have a babysitter that you can trust, and I recommend not only for you but for your kids to have those moments where they can feel a little bit more independent and be with a babysitter and have that time away from you. Your kids are going to love you a whole lot more because they're going to feel that independence a little bit.
Shree's even been concerned about these things too because, we live in, it's not a huge house. Kids are in the house. They're older. They have fucking ears, right? And we do what we do, and we're not, super quiet ever, right? But it's like, you know what? Your kids are eventually going to grow up and be able to say to something, it might be weird now, but at some point in time, we're like, yeah, my parents had a dope sex life, right? And that's
which
probably...
is weird for me to think I'm like the mom that doesn't want to know that my kids know that.
No, but it is, though. And one of my best friends, actually, that I went to college with, that's how his life was as a kid. He knew his parents had a dope sex life, and he talked about it as he was older, that it was a rad thing. He admitted when he was younger that it was weird. But I'll tell you this, though, just from my little different life experience. I lived in the Philippines for a couple years. These people lived in a little bamboo hut. Some of them smaller than this room I'm in, and they had 8 kids. Where do you think they did what they had to do to make those 8 kids? Right on the floor in front of the rest of them. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying if you're in your room with the door closed, it's dope, right? You do what you need to do. But keep that relationship strong, and eventually your kids will be like, yeah, my parents had a rad relationship.
And you really do have to make it a habit. It really is a habit, being able to be together at the end of the night, at the end of every night. Be together, plan that time out. Say at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whenever works for you and gives you the time that you need as a couple to be together. You have to make that happen. It is huge for you guys to be able to come together at the end of the day and have what you need as a couple.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that can be really hard, especially if you feel like you're tired. Especially, here's the thing, I know there's this thing out there that is okay, well, there's even pillows that they make. And I had a friend tell me that she's oh, there's a pillow, and on one side it says I'm ready to go, the other side it says not tonight, right? And she's I put that pillow out whenever I'm feeling it or when I'm not feeling it.
You want to know what I would be like? Challenge accepted.
Right?
Yes,
that's the way it needs to be.
Fuck that pillow.
Here's the thing that's so interesting about that is here it's okay, I'm going to tell you whether I'm ready or not, but guess what? There's going to be nights when your partner's challenge accepted, and not just some nights. There's going to, hopefully it happens more often than not.
Actually, this is a really important lesson for people to learn. There are nights where you may not be in the mood, but you can get into the mood, and then it will still be fun.
Yeah.
Right? It'll still be lots of fun. There are nights even where I'm oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted, but then I'm I got this smoking hot girl laying next to me in bed. Why am I not trying to do anything? So what do I do? Rally, bitches, right?
Yeah, and he's not rolling over, and he's not tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, you want to do it?
You just go after it.
No, because when you were dating, you didn't are you feeling, do you have a headache tonight? Are you feeling okay tonight? No, he just gets me in the mood, and then it happens. Yeah. And that's an important thing, because guess what? That's still part of getting the girl to
wake up the next day and my back's all sore and shit. No.
Well, yeah, it is.
Sometimes. No, but it's a really important thing, and I think we meant to talk about lots of other things, but we've stayed on pretty much this one thing the whole time. But that's okay though, because it's super duper important, and people let it go.
I think one of the things that I want to say about dating is go the extra mile for your date nights. You guys, as women, I'm going to talk to women for a second here. When you can dress up and go out on your date night,
I was just thinking about this, actually.
Feeling like you're hot stuff, and you feel good in your own skin, do that, because that's what you would have done when you guys were dating. right? You wouldn't have gone on a date and just like been like half in sweatpants and whatever you're wearing for the day. Go out, put your makeup on, do your hair, put a sexy outfit on, one that you know that makes you feel confident. Girls, once you feel confident, then date night happens, and then at the end of the night you're like, yeah, I put this sexy underwear on underneath and I'm feeling good. And when you feel good and you feel confident in your own skin, guess what that's going to do for your relationship? You're not going to be tired at the end of the night. You're going to want to have him see what's underneath your clothes.
You better
and he's your husband.
You better damn well be prepared for it too, because he's going to. We actually had, like, the thing that I had in mind as she described that was just a couple, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. So here's the thing with, like, our date nights. Like, sometimes we just go to the brewery just a few miles away. We just have some wings and some beers and we bullshit. Sometimes we do some cool shit. Last week we went to a concert, right? But a couple months ago we went out and we had some food and then we just went and played pool. And probably most people think that playing pool is just something dudes do together. They go to a bar, they have some drinks, they play some pool. Not me, man. We went to play pool and she was wearing stilettos and she was wearing these nice tight jeans and everything, and I'm like sitting back fucking like taking pictures of her and shit, right? Because you see your girl bending across the pool table with stilettos on and her tight jeans and her ass looking great and everything. Like, it doesn't take much to, like, just set the night right so you guys can both go home and have some fun, right? Like, girls, you want your guy to look good for you too. Like, he expects the same thing, or at least wants the same thing too. And it, like, I just corrected myself, and I shouldn't have, actually. Like, we should expect each other to live our best lives for each other.
Yeah.
Each other. We live in this weird time now where it's like, oh, I have my autonomy and I want to be my own person and this and that. Well, if you want to be your own person, fucking don't get married, first of all.
Don't be in a relationship.
I don't know how many married people I've seen their relationships dissolved because all of a sudden girl gets into being like all hardcore feminist and she wants her autonomy and all this stuff, and it's just and just like shit just falls apart. No, you get in a relationship because you don't want that. You want to be a partnership. You want to live a life together. Don't let the lies of the world today fuck up your brain in that way. If you're in a relationship, autonomy is not necessarily, if that's what you want, fucking go be single. And I'll tell you this right now, being single does not lead to being happy. We are very social people. We want to have people in our lives. We want to have family. We want to feel that connection. If that's not what you're into, well, you know how to unsubscribe from our podcast, because we are about saving relationships, bringing people together, being awesome husbands and wives, and being bitchin' parents, and doing all the fucking cool shit that families do, right? I'm not about the purple-haired people that want to be autonomous. You want that? Lots of podcasts for you. This is not the one. If you want to have a rad relationship with a dope sex life, with cool kids that look up to and respect and admire their mom and dad, this is the space for you. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, and I think that plays into like just the fact that it's not something that you can just have. It's not something, this reward that you get. It's something that you have to work towards. Anything really worth having in this life is something you have to work towards.
It's super hard.
And Brandon and I are still on that
choice.
path.
Yeah. It's a choice you make.
And you have to make it as a couple and individually.
You know, she's a total smoke show. I think she's we have a dope sex life. I love being with her. But let's be real. I still have eyeballs. She still has eyeballs too, right? Just because you choose to be vegan doesn't mean bacon's going to fucking stop smelling good, right? Being monogamous and having a relationship with one other person is a choice. It is not a natural choice. Humans are not naturally like that. But it is a choice that we make in order to have the life that we want.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing is when you realize that you both are working towards that same goal together, all of a sudden it opens up a whole different world to your relationship. and a whole different level of trust and security in your relationship, that you know that the other person is all in. And that was something that I had to go through, and like we had to go through in our relationship and other points in our relationship where like maybe you're just uncertain, but when you get to a point when you can both know for each other that you're all in, it kind of puts you on a whole different level where you can grow closer in so many ways than you even know possible. But this kind of plays into something that we've been wanting to do, and so we haven't created it yet, but we want to eventually create a group where we can have other couples who want to have a badass life together, who want to make a better relationship together. And we want to start doing challenges with couples to strengthen their relationships and do things for each other that maybe normally you wouldn't think about being important, but they're important things that you can put in place for each other. So I want you guys all to like keep an eye out for this group that we're going to create, because we want to not only share our story and what things we've learned in our relationship, but we want to actually kind of contribute and have a lot more
and have
feedback.
Others share theirs and have feedback. Yeah.
Because guess what? Like, we grow from seeing the strengths of other couples as well. So if you are somebody who does have a badass relationship as a couple, and you're like, hey, you guys should talk about this, or maybe even you want to come on our show and have a chat with us, that would be really fun, because we want to learn from other couples who have badass relationships and want that for other people. And that's what's huge for us. When you can find friends that want to have a great relationship for their relationship, for their family, that puts you on a whole different level.
All of us have heard this at some point in time. We've heard it from our mom and dad, and we're like, oh, well, whatever, right? But we become the average of whatever it was, like the 10 people that we spend the most time with, right? So if you're gonna hang out with a bunch of divorced people that are fucking miserable, well, you're probably gonna end up like that too.
Yeah.
If you're gonna hang out with a bunch of people that are living their best lives and trying their best to live their best lives, well, then you're probably more likely to end up like that too, right? So like that's why I got into this mastermind group, was not so much because the guy that runs it is such a stud, which he appears to be, he is, but I actually was mostly interested in rubbing shoulders with the rest of the people in the group, right? And actually we met a couple that we went to dinner with the other day, a couple weeks ago now, that I hope to have on our show. They have their own podcast about relationships also, and they're fucking dope. They're so cool.
What is it? Thou Shalt Not Kill.
Thou Shalt Not Kill.
You guys should check it out.
You should check out Thou Shalt Not Kill, a podcast on marriage by Scott and Ann Travis. They're fucking rad. I didn't really tell them we were going to plug them or anything like that, but there you go. Our 3 listeners that we have will now go over to them, and hopefully we get to have a chat with them too, because they're dope. But I only met them because I chose to join this group, right? And that's the thing. Like, if you want things in life, you choose to like hang out with people that want those same things, right? So.
Yeah, and it's very important to find people who want to work towards having an amazing relationship, because it's very easy to stop working towards your relationship and move in other directions. But when you can surround yourself with others, and that's what we want to create with this group that we're going to begin in maybe a week or 2. We just want to get a few more listeners, but
like 3 more, so we'll have 6.
We'll have 6 listeners, and then we can have a full group, right?
Totally, yeah, with 6.
But the cool thing about that is we want to create a group where you can have others to rely on that want what's good for your relationship, and then what they want for you in return, and be a support for you in that way. And I think that's vital to everything important in your life, when you can surround yourself with people who want the best for you.
Yeah.
And won't be angry that, okay, well, you guys look like you have this really cool life and I don't. No, you want to surround yourself with people that are like, you know what, this has been hard for me, but I want the best relationship with my partner.
Yeah. And I'm gonna end by saying this right here, okay? This is actually my personal sort of goal for this whole thing. Besides the fact that this is just fun for us to do, right? I feel like when you do something that's kind of artsy, whether it's like doing art, whether it's taking pictures, whether it's podcasts, you should do it because you want to. You do it whether you make money or not. It's just simply fun. I'm totally cool to do this shit for free forever, right? It's just fun for us to do. But if I could help somebody understand this, even one person, then that would be rad. There are so many genuinely cool marriages and relationships that get dissolved because people stop having fun. They get bored. Maybe they lose attraction. Maybe they do, I don't know what, right? But they lose attraction. They get bored. Just things stop. The honeymoon phase comes to an end, right? If I could just help you understand that even after 18 years, 20 years, 25 years, fucking 30 years, I don't care, you can still get that back by taking specific actions and living life intentionally, that would be enough for me. Because you can. Life can be fun. It's not meant to be a drag. Yesterday doesn't matter. Tomorrow's not even fucking real. The only thing we know is what's happening right now.
Yeah. So stop being all blocked inside your box and go out there and be amazing for each other, because that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like, you have to, when you come home every day, make sure that you're living your life to create a better life for the both of you. You know, it's about both of you. It's not about, oh, I need this out of the relationship. It's about what can I do for that other person to make that person's day better. And when you can end the day in that mode, and you know that your partner's having a awful day and you just need to go and be there for them, drop everything that you're doing and be there for them, because that's the most important thing. So
last thing, there's a guy that I like. It's a band singer. His name is Crucifix. I ride motorcycles, so does he. I love his lyrics, I love his songs, but one of my favorite songs is called My Way, and it's about living life my way. One of my favorite lines of his is, I put yesterday to my back and just ride. And then he says something, I forget the exact quote, but it's like, I put yesterday to my back and just ride. The only thing I want is to die alive. Yeah. Those words aren't exactly right, but the concept is there, right? And what does that mean, to die alive, right? Just fucking live, right? Eventually we're all gonna die. So live today for the most that you can. And die alive, right? You know, like,
live a passionate life.
Fucking live.
Together. Yeah. How amazing is it when you're passionately living together instead of just mundanely being content at the end of the day?
All right, one more time. Put yesterday to your back and just ride.
Yeah, and live for each other. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And
peace out. We'll see you next week.
Give us some feedback. We love you guys. Watch us on YouTube. And we'll start that group so we can start challenging you guys to be the best couples that you can be.
When you can as well with us, so we can communicate. So cool.
See you guys.